Thank you, Marcy, for having me on.
Hi, Beth. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to speak with your group today.
I'm excited to welcome everyone to our webinar this morning. It's so great to have you all. I have Beth Warford here from Preloaded. Is that correct? Am I saying that?
Yes. Yep.
And she is a renowned expert. And what's so interesting is that she actually got, is it National Situational Awareness on the calendar?
Right. Yes.
National Situational Awareness Day on the calendar. So if you see that, that's all because of Beth.
Thank you.
Here today, talk to us a little bit about personal safety, situational awareness. I know that we've seen a lot in the news recently about things that are going on out there. Not all of them great. A notary, a realtor, appraiser, CPS worker. If you're someone who goes into people's homes on a regular basis, that puts you, I think, in a little bit more of a precarious situation sometimes. I think Beth will touch on that as well. If you're here just as an individual who wants to learn more, there's still plenty of content for you as well. A few housekeeping tips. We're recording this obviously, so you can watch it at your leisure later if you're not able to stay. The chat is up and you can certainly throw any sorts of comments that you like in there. If you have any questions though, we ask that you put it in the Q&A so Vanessa and I can monitor those so that Beth can answer them as we go. If we don't answer them during the session, we'll get to them absolutely at the end. So Beth, I think that you should be able to share. Vanessa and I are going to go off screen and we're going to let you get started. Thanks so much, everybody. I'm really looking forward to this.
Thank you for having me. Can you see my screen, Marcy?
Not yet.
Okay. Can you see it now? Let's see here.
Not yet still. We just had this working too in the back, right?
We did. Let's see here. Can you see my screen now?
I cannot.
Okay. I'm not sure what happened there.
See if I can try to give you access again. All right. I think I just did again.
Okay.
Give it a try. Let's see. Can anyone out there see Beth's screen? Maybe I have a different view and I can't see it. So I want to make sure that I'm.
No, I don't see it either.
No, Vanessa, right? You don't see it either.
No.
Okay. You can still hear me and everything, right? So I'm still logged in.
Absolutely.
Okay. You know what I can do? I can just, I don't know why my screen is not showing here. What I can do, I can just give my presentation and then, unless you want to see my slides.
Yeah, no, we're okay. We're happy.
Okay. All right, here we go. Experts agree that body language is over 90% of all communication. Did you know that criminals target you based on what your body language is saying? Are you distracted? Are you looking at your phone when you're walking to and from your car? So today I'm going to teach you how to change your body language to not be a hard target or to not be a soft target. We're going to teach you how to be a hard target. So the first thing I'm going to teach you how to do is the power pose. I want you all to put your hands above your head like this, or put your hands on your hip, like Wonder Woman or Wonder Man, Superman, sorry. And I want you to hold this pose for 2 minutes. But Amy Cuddy, a social psychologist at Harvard, studied this posture. And she took saliva samples before and after doing the power pose. And she found that doing the power pose for 2 minutes increases your testosterone and decreases your stress levels. So this is an absolute fake it until you make it pose. So the next time you're stressed out, about anything that you have to do the power pose. It increases your confidence and you feel awesome. Interestingly enough, our logo has the power pose in it with the shield over the top, because after this training, and this is just a very brief training for you, but you will be able to be your own security guard. Loaded actually means equipped with an abundance of options and staffed with excellent players. So you will be an excellent resource. You will know what safety tips you should use. You will know how to use situational awareness. And this training is all about confidence, because who wants to have something happen to them, right? I mean, I'm going to talk a little bit later about criminals and who they are, but the one thing that I do know with talking with a lot of survivors, after something has happened to them, it really brings them back down very far in their life. So today I'm just going to touch on a little bit of predators and common tactics, situational awareness skills, verbal defenses in personal space, defensive hardware, and a little bit of martial arts, and then urban safety tips. So the mindset that something could happen to you equals you're better prepared to deal with it. So be proactive to reduce your vulnerability. And today we're going to develop a real quick safety plan for you. And we feel at Pretty Loaded, it's better to have the skills and not need them than need the skills and not have them. So how many of you can guess the average response time by law enforcement? And I don't know if I can, is anyone going to say anything?
I will say 3 minutes.
Okay, it's actually 10 to 15 minutes is the average time. And around the country, there are some no-go zones, so the police don't go there. But the truth is the average encounter is over 9 seconds and help is minutes away. So you have to be able to take care of yourself. The law enforcement call this yo-yo time. You're on your own until they can get there. So the biggest thing, when I first started Pretty Loaded was figuring out, I found self-defense because I was almost assaulted when I was with my daughters. And I looked into self-defense. I found martial arts and I found handguns. And I thought there had to be something different out there. And so I started to research criminals and who they are and who they target. And there's tons of research done on these criminals. And I realized, and then I saw what body language is over 90% of all communication. And so I'm going to teach you a little bit through this presentation how you can pick out criminals. And when you're on the street next time, you will probably pick out exactly who they are. The one thing that I find is very interesting, a lot of people ask me about crime statistics, and I don't like to go into statistics because if it happens to you, it was 100% chance, and I'm not willing to take that chance. The one thing that is a little bit scary is that 10 to 20% of the population claim to be opportunistic predators. So if they can get away with it, they will absolutely do it. So what is the chance that you might cross the path of an opportunistic predator at some point in your life? It's possible, but I'm going to teach you what you should do and what you should not do. So you need to understand the body language that makes you a soft target. The Grayson Stein study was done in 1984, and they took thousands of pedestrians walking in New York City, and they showed this video to thousands of criminals, violent criminals. And they said, okay, who would you pick out as a victim from this video? And in less than 7 seconds, they all picked out the same targets. They did not pick out just women. They picked out men too. They did not pick out people based on their race or ethnicity, anything like that. They picked out slow walkers, people that had little or no eye contact. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about that. They picked out people that had kind of a funny gait. They picked out people that were just distracted. What this study shows is that we're much like animals and we go after the slowest in the herd, right? So just from this, by changing your body language, walking with purpose, walking fast, walking with your head up, just paying attention to your surroundings makes you not a target. And I do have a lot of videos, but Marcy, since you can't see my screen, I will send these videos to you so your audience can see those.
That was great. We'll go ahead and post the links for everyone.
Okay. And so how to spot a criminal? It's usually a person that is loitering on the street. They're not looking at their phone. And do you know why they're not looking at their phone? They're watching for their next victim, their next person to rob from, next person to take their bags from. And so you don't need to be afraid of people that quote unquote look scary, or you need to be nervous about people that when their status changes when they see you. The first thing a criminal has to do is stare at you. Just like animals, they have to stare at their intended target. I'm going to talk about pre-attack body indicators in just a little bit. Now, we always say profile all strangers, not on race or gender, but on how they are acting. How is that stranger acting when they're out in public? You need to watch those things, and I'll talk about situational awareness in a little bit. So criminals use steps and stages, and we are going to exploit them. And after all this study done on all these criminals, they said they do these 4 stages. The first, they target you. Are you distracted? Are you looking at your phone? Are you walking slow? Are you just not paying attention? That's number 1. Then they go on to the second step. Can they get close enough to you? And later in the training, I'm going to quickly go through, if somebody's coming at you, how to change your body language to get them away. Number 3, they ask you a question. Hey, can I get directions to the library? Or what is the time? They're only doing this to test you to see if you're compliant, number 1, and number 2, distracted before they can steal. So you do not answer their question, and I'll talk about that later. Then the fourth step is theft or whatever they're going to do. So you need to guard your personal space. You need to know that 2 to 5 feet is a distance for close friends and coworkers. Anybody, especially a stranger that is coming close, especially in the COVID days, coming close into your personal space, that is not normal. And we can learn a lot from the person who developed proxemics. And so when you're in a subway, on a bus, in an elevator, the human body naturally diverts our eyes. We make ourselves small. We make minimal movements in these areas because it's so awkward to be close to so many strangers. And I think some of you probably understand this. But if you're on a bus or in an elevator and somebody's moving now and staring at you, you need to pay attention to this. So what does a predator's body language do before they might assault you? Okay, number one is the staring at you, right? Number two, you can see shallow breathing. They avert their gaze kind of, and then they stare back at you right before they do something. Nostril flaring, clenched fists. If you watch this, they'll be clenching their fists. They can't just go from their arms crossed, their legs crossed to all of a sudden, stealing from you or jumping on you. Bending their knees, sometimes bouncing on their feet, jaw clenching, shoulders go up and arms come back to look like they're bigger before they might hit somebody. Arms into right angles, blading the body, and then a leg moves back. So the first step again is staring at you. If somebody stares at you, what we want you to do is we want you to look back at them with strong eye contact. And with your eyes, I want you to basically say, I see you, I know who you are, not me, not today. I don't want it to be an aggressive look, but I want it to be a strong look. This alone sends criminals and predators to the next target. They know that you are too much of a fight. Even Ted Bundy admitted to this. If a woman had strong eye contact, he would not go after her, or a man as well, not Ted Bundy, but so situational awareness. How can we use situational awareness to navigate our surroundings? The person who developed situational awareness, he developed for the Marines in World War II, and he said this is more important than martial arts or firearms. It's because you see things coming and you can get out of the situation. You're not in a fight. And situational awareness is it's the foundation of your personal safety, and it focuses on conflict avoidance. And also, did you know that the number 4 cause of death in America is accidents? Because people are not paying attention to their surroundings. They're texting while they're driving. They walk into the middle of a road. It used to be the number 3 cause of death. And so just by paying attention to your surroundings will save you from accidents. So you need to look for things out of place. What doesn't seem in place, okay? And I'm gonna talk a little bit about intuition real briefly later. But if you see something out of place, or if you see a person and you just get a bad feeling about them, absolutely trust your gut. Your intuition is your highest form of intelligence. And if something does not seem right, something seems wrong, they have done studies on just showing people pictures of people, and they say, okay, is this a good person, or has this person committed a crime? And like 99%, they can accurately pick out a person's facial features, just whether they are a good person or a bad person. And so next time you feel like you see somebody and they're like, oh man, that person is really weird, you need to trust that. And so with situational awareness, it's all about being aware. Because a timeline of an attack, if you see something like somebody crossing the street, you know they're staring at you and now they're coming at you, you have 1 to 3 minutes to still get away from that person. You can cross the street, you can go into a store, find a bunch of people around, you have a lot of time. Even if you have 30 seconds and you notice like somebody's making a beeline towards you, you can transition to Nike, get out of there. But if you're not paying attention, you have 3 seconds and you'll most likely be surprised and you'll freeze. And that's the wrong thing to do. But you will not freeze after this training because you'll have the mindset to know what to do. So this is all about making good decisions. Okay, the best decisions. And the situation, your environment is not within your control, right? So if you go into a pharmacy and now all these strangers come in and they're scaring you, that's not in your control because you can't control the environment. But your awareness of what you do next, whether you're present or distracted, is completely within your control. So I have an awareness video, but I will send that to you as well later. It tests your awareness. So the Cooper's color codes are white, yellow, orange, and red. When you are in public, Condition white, this is unaware, distracted, the criminal's perfect target. You're looking at your phone, you have high heels on, you can barely walk. This is who they go after. This is not you ever again when you're in public. Condition yellow, it's a relaxed and alert state of consciousness. You're just scanning around, you're confident. You're not expecting to be attacked today, but you're just aware, just like our grandparents were. You are difficult to surprise, so you're difficult to harm. And this is what I want you to live in public. Condition orange is when a person or event, maybe it's a car coming down the road or a fire or something alerts you. This is when you have to come up with a plan now. This is when you have to get out of the event. This is when you move. This is when you don't freeze. Condition red is your safety is threatened right now. It's go time. You have to react now, whether it's running or fighting. And I'm going to teach you just a couple fighting techniques at the very end here if we have some time. Keys to situational awareness. You need to be aware 360 degrees around you when you're out in public. You can use the windows to look and see who's behind you. You can look in car windows. There's all sorts of things that you can do, or just turn around and kind of notice what's going on. You need to live in condition yellow at all time. You need to watch people, things, what looks out of place. You need to watch their hands. So you need to watch the eyes, because the eyes give away what they're going to do. If they're going to steal from you, they're staring at your purse. If they're going to do something to you, they're staring at you. But you need to pay attention to the hands, because the hands do the harm or the hands steal. When you're waiting in public, pick safe places to wait. And I think, do you have subways in Rochester? I know you're all over the nation, but don't wait right next to the platform on the subways. Wait somewhere where you can have your back up against a wall and then nobody can come from behind you. So that's very important. When seconds count, mindset matters. So you remember, you are your own first responder, and how you respond also matters. So decisions for to trust your gut. So the number one thing is use your intuition, right? And I talked about that earlier. It's the highest form of intelligence. And it's the ability to understand something immediately without your need for conscious reasoning. And so in this training, if you're in somebody's house and you have this feeling that this person is acting weird, something just seems wrong, it's best to come up with an excuse. And I teach all of our Grubhub delivery drivers, I tell them to memorize an excuse, because when you're so nervous, sometimes your memory slips. So you have to memorize an excuse to get out of that situation. Like, oh, I forgot my pen, or not my pen, but they can give you one, but I forgot the right papers or something. Get yourself out of the situation. And the important thing is that science has recently discovered that we are 0.0001% energy. Matter. We are 99.999% energy. We are mostly energy. So quantum physics entanglement theory proves that you can pick up on somebody's good energy, bad energy, and fearful energy. So this is very important to pay attention to that. Also I'm going to skip that book here. So I'm going to go through something really quick here. I think it's important for you. So when you spot a threat, they're staring at you and moving toward you. Now, how do you think you would change your body language that shows them not to come any closer? And this might need to be body language, right? Because what if they don't speak English? So since I can't see any of you, you're now escalating to condition orange. What I want you to do is I want you to put your hands like this. This is a universal sign for stop. Everybody knows that stop. You can have one hand up or two hands up. I want you to stagger your feet, so you don't have your feet just standing like this, because if they run at you and push you, you can fall over. I want your feet staggered so you can, number one, run, or number two, kick them if you had to do that. And then what would you say to this person? So we want them to deselect you. They targeted you for a reason. You may not have been paying attention or something, but now we want them to deselect you. You say stop, and you say, I can't help you, move back, right? Or sorry, sir, I can't help you. Sorry, ma'am, I can't help you. And that's actually polite and it's closed-ended. I want you to hold your hands right here. The reason your hands are here is because if they're getting any closer to you, you can block if they're trying to hit you. And it's a very quick block right here. Your forearm is incredibly strong. I mean, just try to have somebody hit you and block like that. I want you to not just stand there. I want you to move to the left or right. The military calls it moving off the X, because if somebody is running at you, if you move to the left or the right, it takes away 60% of the blow. But I do not want you to back up. I don't want you backpedaling because that's very submissive. So what we want you to do is show your command presence. Your voice has to be strong. And especially for women, all of the people that I've trained, sometimes they don't have that command presence where they're not used to yelling. And so you need to practice this. Stop, back up, I can't help you. And honestly, criminals have admitted to people that swear, they have more of a fighting personality. So they tend to back away from people that fight. So if you need to use the fire truck word, you certainly can. But how most people react is like this. They're stressed out and nervous and they freeze, and that's the wrong thing to do. That is not what you're going to do. So we believe the best fight is the one you are never in. Moving away from the threat is the smartest option. And always wear something that you can run in. You know, don't wear, if you're going to wear these high heels or fancy Italian shoes or whatever it is, maybe just put them in your bag and wear good shoes when you're going to and from a house or to and from a restaurant. And then you can always change into those fancy shoes when you're in a restaurant. So I'm going to talk just a little bit about what you could carry on you. We call it everyday carry. And we always say 2 is 1 and 1 is none. So if number one, you have the mindset now, you know some of this training and you understand how predators operate, but can you carry something on you when you're going into these homes? The first thing I want to show you is this tactical pen, and it has a flashlight at the end, and it also has a very pointy bezeled end right here. This is anodized aluminum. You can strike somebody with this, and I'm going to show you a little bit later where the weakest parts on the human body are. So if you had to, you could use this pen as a weapon. The other thing, industrial door jams should be on you. I take these to hotels. I train a lot of businesses to have industrial door jams, because if there would be an active shooter, they can shoot the door in, kick the door in. If you have an industrial door jam and you put it right in the middle of the door, nobody's coming in that door. Another thing is pepper gel. This is Saber Red. This is 10 ounce. This shoots 25 feet. This is marked with orange. It'll take down 3 people. So this is a good home defense thing to have. This is also a good office defense item as well. A tactical flashlight. I like the one with a key ring. And one thing for the real estate agents or notaries that are on here, make sure you put your car keys in your pants pocket. I'm not sure, I don't recommend taking purses or anything like that into anybody's house. I would take your car keys with you though, and put them in your pants pocket, something that is tight, because when you are startled, it's called the startled reflex. When you're really scared, you'll drop everything and run, and you don't want to leave your keys in somebody's house. So make sure before you go in, you have them somewhere tight. This also is really good because it's a tactical flashlight. This can temporarily blind someone. It's also great to use during the daylight. It's that strong. It can temporarily blind somebody during the day or the night. I like, for the kids that are on here, just a simple comb. You can carry this in your back pocket, and you can strike across somebody's face, across their neck, and across their arm. This hurts like hell if you actually take a comb and do that to somebody. Another thing we recommend is the Nevo bat. This is 1,000 lumens. This temporarily blinds in the daylight. It's a great home defense tool, or some people can carry that on them as well in their purse, but I don't recommend that. I really don't talk about anything. If you want to talk about other weapons at the end, I will be willing to talk about that. So you can ask me at the end of that. I do want to talk a little bit about where you can strike on the human body. And when I was almost assaulted, I decided to take Krav Maga because I knew I needed to learn how to fight. So the top things are really the palm strike, and I have videos on this as well. So you don't ever want to punch somebody because you're just going to break your bones. So you want to have an open hand like this, and it's easy. If you're just standing with your hands like this and you're saying stop and they're coming at you, I want you to hit their nose like this and push it to the back of their head. And this works so effectively because number one, it hurts like heck. And number two, it makes your eyes water. It's just enough to get away. I will never teach you anything, to kill somebody or anything like that. These are just things that you can do to run and then get away. The solar plexus is right here above your, right under your ribs, like right between your ribs. If you punch somebody, your elbow is very strong. You can elbow them into the solar plexus. It makes them buckle over. Their eyes, a lot of survivors have scratched people's faces, but they've never gone stuck their fingers into their eyeballs. And the reason I talk about this is because I hear the worst of the worst stories of the people who did not survive. And you need to know that if you're fighting for your life, that you can do that. You can stick your hands in somebody's eyes. I always say high balls and low balls, so smackage to the package. Kneecaps, you can break somebody's kneecap with 15 pounds of pressure. So all you have to do is kick under their knee. Ankles, you can kick into their ankle, their kidneys. There's all sorts of ways that you can just strike somebody so you can get away. Even if this person is much bigger than you, there are certain things that you can do to get away. I want to talk just real briefly about fringe areas. Fringe areas are where the highest amount of crime happens. ATMs, bathrooms, believe it or not, restrooms are a high fringe area. Stairwells, don't ever use a stairwell unless it's highly traveled. There's so much crime in stairwells, especially now. Parking garages are terrible because criminals are very intelligent and they know that parking garages are dark and that parking garages don't have video cameras. So I'm going to teach you just a little bit how to walk there. Sidewalks, alleys, in and out of your car is one of the highest fringe areas. I have videos on all this on how you should do. Gas stations are incredibly high for crime, libraries, and then rest areas. So when you're going to a parking garage, try to park under a light, try to park closest to a door. I want you to walk down the middle of the aisle. I don't want you to walk too close to cars because somebody could, be lurking around there. And it's very important. If you see something, go back and get somebody else to walk with you. Don't be too proud to get to your car. In a parking lot, park closest to the store because there are video cameras on the store. They're monitoring those people. There's a lot of foot traffic closer to the store. So don't worry about door dings. It's real important to park closest to the store. Gas stations, it's really important when you get out of your car, lock your door immediately. Start fueling up, but don't stay at the pump because that's when they come to you for money or whatever they need. Go back into your car and shut the door. I also have a video, if your state does not allow you to do that, I have tips on exactly what you should do. But it's important. I always say pay at the pump if you can, because now if you're going into the gas station, more people are seeing you. I'm going to teach you a little bit about being a gray man, but it's best to be under the radar. Always know where all exits are. There are exits everywhere. And interestingly enough, with active shooters, most people freeze when they're in that situation and they all go out the same exit that they came in. And that's the wrong thing to do. You can go over a concert stage if you need to. There are no rules when there's an active shooter. You can go out the kitchen. You can go out the store, a store like the back of the store, like Walmart. You can go where the employees go. So just remember, don't go out the same exit that you came in. Notice where exits are. It'll save you from many things. When you're in public, be the gray man or gray woman. Don't wear items of high value. Blend into your surroundings. If you're in New York, you better walk like a New Yorker. You better walk fast because there are people in the crowd that are spotting tourists and they're really good with pickpocketing. So don't walk on the outskirts of the crowd. Those are also the fringe areas because you have the street on one side and then on the other end, the people who are taking can just go into a store. So actually walk down the middle. That's safest for you. I don't recommend, once again, wearing purses or anything like that. I recommend wearing a backpack. And the reason we recommend wearing a backpack is because you have your hands open and you can run. And then also, make sure that your backpack is very secure. So once again, if you see something on a place, cross the street, turn around, go into a store. I want to just briefly talk about anti-carjacking tips because in a lot of cities, anti-carjacking is up about 800%. So whenever you're in a car, your doors are always locked, your windows are always up. Be aware of your surroundings. Don't get boxed in any lanes. Pick outer lanes. I have a video on this as well. Always see the tires in front of you because if you can see the tires in front of you, now you have room to move. You can move around if you need to. But if you're jammed up to a car, you can't do anything. Don't fall for the light bump from the car behind you. This is a carjacking tactic. So they pretend like you got in an accident. They want you to get out of the car and then they take your car. Don't do that. Stay in your car, call the police, or drive off until you can get to safety. I have a video here on exposing criminals and exactly how they work. And once again, I will get that to Marcy. And so in your moment of truth, in your hour of need, you will revert to your training. And so I know I've given you a very, very brief amount of training because I want to hear your questions and what works for you. but I just want to recap a few things. Remember to live in condition yellow, guard your personal space when you're out on the street, use verbal commands. Don't be afraid to tell somebody to back up, back off, okay? Because once again, fighting personality, use physical defenses, and above all, trust your intuition to guide you. And so we always say, Mr. Miyagi, to fight is not good, but if you must fight, you must win. So unleash your inner badass. You have the courage. The top dying regret, honestly, is I wish I had the courage to live the life that I wanted. And here at Preloaded, we think that's very sad that a lot of people didn't, live the life that they wanted because they didn't have the courage, whether that was, they didn't start the business of their dreams, or they didn't do what they should do because their spouse was holding them back. But you have the courage to do anything that you can. Research has also discovered that the chance of all of us being alive is 1 in 400 trillion. The fact that we are here, the fact that all of our ancestors met who they did, is 1 in 400 trillion. Our lives matter. We are very important, and we are not put here on this earth, to have somebody traumatize us. So you have the courage to protect yourself. You have the courage to protect your family. And so I don't care, if you're only 120 pounds soaking wet and you're this young girl, if somebody tries to harm you, unleash your inner badass and fight like your life depends on it. And I have a bunch more videos here. I apologize for that. Maybe we can get the camera to work in a little bit, but some of the things that we do, we have a lot of free videos on YouTube. We donate money to backtoback.org. So these are orphan children that we send to college. They have also taken all of our training so they can go to college. They're in India, Mexico, and the United States. We have all sorts of, and I'll send this to Marcy too, all sorts of guides on our website. Urban safety tips, restroom safety, child safety guides, like all sorts of things about children. De-escalation, and I think de-escalation would probably be a big thing for you as notaries and real estate agents, just to understand de-escalation. But so that was just a brief overview. I'm sorry I couldn't share my screen, but I would be willing to take any questions, and then maybe we can get my screen shared to show you a few of these videos.
That would be great. I also put the website link for Brett's website, Preloaded, in the chat, so you guys can certainly go. There's a lot of good information there. If you have questions, you can throw it in the Q&A. If you want to talk about something, you can raise your hand and I'll unmute you. I know there's a question box that says, my coworker stutters while having a conversation. How to avoid such situations so he improves?
How to improve his stuttering?
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. Whoever asked that, or Tiza, if you want to raise your hand, or you throw another question here. Are you concerned that his stuttering may make this individual a target? Maybe that's more the question is there a way to improve that situation so that he wouldn't be a target? Or would they even make him a target, I guess is the question.
It all depends on his eye contact. It depends on his body language. If anybody is ever intimidating you, unfortunately, none of us have the best, when it comes to speaking. I feel like I stutter sometimes, but if it's a really bad stutter and he can't fix that, which sounds like he probably can't, make sure he's not sitting down. So if he's speaking with somebody and somebody starts to intimidate him and stands up, he needs to stand up. He needs to have strong eye contact. The rest of his body language needs to be very strong. So he cannot come across as looking like a weak individual because he stutters. And I agree that some people are just mean and vicious and might pick on him for that. So he needs to focus on his strong eye contact and the way he holds his body. Make sure, he has one hand out, not both hands in, thumbs out of the pocket. So there's certain tricks that you can do. Don't ever put your hand on your neck. This is very submissive for anyone. So there's all sorts of tips that he can do with his body language to change that.
Great. Anyone have any questions? I'll give you a minute or two. I thought what was great was talking about, not carrying a purse or, using a backpack. I am that person who doesn't like to make 3 trips from my car to the grocery store back and forth. So I feel like I always have my arms loaded with stuff. And I never thought that might make me a target. Same with when I have papers, when I go to do assignments. I always have a purse and a bag and papers in my hand. But I will rethink that going forward because I never have free hands. I hope that was something that the rest of you thought about as well, because that really hit home for me. So definitely appreciate that tip, Beth. I never would have thought about that.
It's all about being a hard target. You are a hard target. You will be left alone. And so it's, any way you can put your papers in your backpack or anything like that. Try not to have, if you have to have your phone in one of your hands, that's probably okay, but it's best to have it in your pocket or somewhere.
And someone said they did not know about the neck touching, and I didn't know about the neck touching either. I would have never thought of that as well.
Real estate agents. So I'm not trying to scare anyone, but real estate agents are often targeted because they're attractive and they put attractive pictures of themselves. And you will find in the prisons that there are tons of real estate pictures just around because and so when they're doing like these submissive pictures, their hand here like this, or, different, or even both hands in, not showing your hand, that's submissive. Hand on one of your hips when you're taking a photo, that shows that you're strong, you're confident. Having one hand out, both hands out, that shows that you're strong and confident. So these criminals really go after body language and they target people based on that. So I focus a lot with real estate agents and what they should be doing with their pictures. They cannot be too sexy or too submissive whatsoever.
Great. So I think there aren't any other questions. We could do, I think the body language is key. Oh, maybe I have one more question. So this individual says, "Hi, Beth, I must confess that there are some signings I have not taken because of the neighborhood. Also, I admit that as a small woman, I might be a little paranoid about my size and how I could possibly protect myself. I find myself accepting assignments where there are couples and I feel wrong for this judging."
Don't ever feel wrong for misjudging. Your intuition is so intelligent. And so when your body tells you that something's wrong, these people are acting weird, or, and honestly, I think as a woman, I think sometimes women just feel more afraid because we should in a lot of ways. But I think you need to trust your intuition. I think for you need to come up with something of how to get in this situation. I didn't get the rest of that. She just feels like she misjudges people.
I think she feels like, she's being judgmental, but I'm going to jump in and say, I don't think that's the case at all, right? You, especially as an independent individual, you have the option. I mean, you're not discriminating, you're concerned about your personal safety, right? And I think there's a difference between concerned about your safety and being judgmental. I mean, you're not judging the person per se, right? You're judging your situation.
You are judging.
Talk to that a little bit more than that.
Absolutely. And we all profile, on, oh, that person's attractive, or look at that cute little kid, or, it's okay. All of the large security systems, all law enforcement, they all profile. Once again, not on race or ethnicity, but on how you're acting. So when she's in these situations and she feels like she's being judgmental, she's not. Don't do that to yourself, because that's where people get into a lot of trouble. Trust your intuition, and then notice pre-attack body indicators. Are they doing anything? Are they clenching their fists? Are they staring at you for too long? That's creepy. That's really weird. If you get that feeling. Also, micro expressions can be picked up in 1/25th of a second. So I always use this just as fun, but like when you go in for, Christmas holiday and you're with your whole family and you looked at your sister-in-law and you thought to yourself, did she just glare at me? She did. She just glared at you. You have to trust micro expressions. Micro expressions give everything away. So if all of a sudden you're like, man, did that guy glare at me? Did he look at me funny? He did. He absolutely did. Trust your intuition. The other thing, Malcolm Gladwell, he studied the truth default theory. And unfortunately, most of us, when we meet a stranger, we fall into the truth default theory. We think that everybody is good because we're good. So we operate on these good feelings, but that's not true. You need to be skeptical when you're meeting somebody new. And it doesn't mean that you're rude to them or mean to them. You just do not trust people right away until they earn your trust.
Yeah, and I'm going to say when it comes to going to particular areas, I think that that's just being cognizant, right? Being aware of where you're going. I mean, I certainly think that there are some areas I wouldn't go to at night, right? But I would go during the day, or some areas that you don't go at all. I don't think that that's being judgmental. Again, I think that that's just being concerned for your personal safety, and not putting yourself in a position where something could happen, right? And that's a little bit about, changing the situation. Can you have them meet you someplace else in a public place, right? Like a Dunkin' Donuts. And granted, I understand that not every occupation allows that, and maybe the person will hire you doesn't allow it, but having a conversation, and I'm sure Beth would agree with this as well, with whoever's hiring you, hey, this isn't the greatest area, you know what I mean? It's high crime or whatever that might be. It might be safer to, meet someplace public. I think that most companies who are hiring you would feel your personal safety was important, right? And if they don't, well, then my personal opinion is probably not a company that you want to work for, right?
Exactly.
But I mean,
yep, exactly. And that's what I teach all the Grubhub delivery partners. If they don't feel safe in a certain area, and I always tell them, don't take the order, don't take the delivery. And sometimes I tell them, if you don't understand, the area, if you can't look on Google Maps and kind of see what the layout of the area is, drive by your location, see what's kind of going on. But at the same time, if you know that's a bad area, I would meet at a coffee shop, just like you said, meet somewhere else.
Well, we're glad that you guys are enjoying the information. I see we've got some realtors on here and people who are concerned. Let's say, and I guess we talk a little bit about de-escalation. Maybe you've done all the things and this person is still being aggressive, maybe towards you. Maybe they're an irate customer or they're unhappy. Is there technique, there's something that we can do to try to de-escalate in order to calm them down, give us some time to withdraw from that situation or leave the room?
Yes. So just know that when somebody is angry, they are using their prefrontal cortex. It is not their reasoning brain. So when you're speaking with somebody who is angry, they can't reason. It's very hard to de-escalate that situation. Also know if somebody is yelling at you and angry and you see, their body going, but all of a sudden they go to silence, get out of there. Right? If they're going from anger to silence is right before they'll do something to you. This has been studied multiple times. What we teach is if somebody is angry, sorry, you are so right. I know why you're upset. I would be upset too. I didn't know that, the paper said that. I didn't know the interest rate was that. I'm just making this up. I'm sure you can come up with something for your notaries. You are so right. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to go to the car right now. I'm going to call my manager or whoever it is, and then I'll be right back. But you don't come back, right? You go to the car and you leave, because nobody should be yelling at you and angry with you, because that usually turns to something very bad. But just, you are so right. I can see why you're angry, and make them feel like, yeah, you're right. I am angry, and then just find a way to fix it, but get out of there and, kind of say, I'm coming back to you. That's what we do with Grubhub. We tell them that we have the wrong order and I'm going to go to the car and get it and I'll be right back. But then they don't go back. They don't go back to the house.
That's a great tip for those of us who enter houses and we're sort of there. Does anybody have any, not questions maybe even, but scenarios that they've been in and they felt uncomfortable and want clarification? Or maybe you have a scenario in your head that you think, I wonder what would, if this might happen. I mean, sometimes I joke when I go out into the country and the house is way far in the back and it's all wooded. I always tell my friends, if you don't hear from me in a day or two, I'm probably chained up in the basement. So call someone. It's a running joke and it's not a funny joke anymore based on what goes on out there. But sometimes you are in these, situations where the people are always lovely and it's, not really what's going to happen to you, but it is a thought, right? So do you let someone know where you're going, even though you have to be careful about what you're saying because that's private information. Those are situations that sometimes we're in. We go to these areas that are rural and not necessarily dangerous, but rural. There isn't great cell phone service, right? Or those kinds of things.
Right. And, the biggest thing is we even teach real estate agent, if they're like, oh, we need to sign these papers in the basement, I probably wouldn't go down to the basement. I would try to sign the papers as close to the door as you can, if you can do that. Is it usually the kitchen table, or where do you sign the papers?
Yeah, so I would say a lot of times you're at the kitchen table. I mean,
Okay.
you can, there are certainly random situations where sometimes we're, out, they'll want to sign outside, or, in a screen porch, or, I mean, COVID had a lot of us signing outdoors, right? Which wasn't ideal, but it was, for safety purposes, I guess, it probably was a better situation for a lot of us.
I would say that too, make sure you're carrying something like a clipboard that you can just sign, so you can sign it outside. And again, make up some excuse why you need to sign these papers outside. I don't know whether you have terrible allergies or something and you don't want to go in the house because you're sneezing, or just something, oh, it's a beautiful day. Do you think we could just sign these papers outside? I mean, I agree with you on that.
All right, let's see. Someone put in the chat, I had a signing where the signers, a couple, had a teenage son in the house, and he kept coming into the dining area where we were doing the signing. The son kept talking very close into my face, and I really was not sure how to handle this. I ended up doing the signing much faster than I would have taken my time to explain the documents. I wasn't sure what to do without insulting the parents.
Yeah. Oh, that's awkward. I think, was the son autistic or anything, or was he a normal person, quote unquote normal, or do you think he had, was he just trying to kind of harass you, or do you think he was not mentally stable necessarily?
They said not sure. I always think of the Seinfeld episode with the close talker, if you're a Seinfeld fan. There's always that one person who wants to be in your personal space. But I would agree, since COVID, I think we've gone in a strange direction where people are they very much want to stay away from you, or they missed that interaction during COVID. And now they're overly, I don't want to say affectionate is the word, but they're more in your space, right? Because they lacked that during that time frame. So for me, I see more people who are more apt to hug me when I get there, or hug me when I leave, or want to shake hands, just because of that.
Yeah. So, and he's probably a third degree spitter too, right? Where he's spitting in your face while he's I would have, if I were in that situation, I get very uncomfortable when I don't know somebody and they're in my space. I just naturally start to move back. I don't know. I don't worry about feelings too much. I probably would have scooted my chair back, and then maybe just said, is that okay if your son sits down? I just so we can get this paperwork done. You can say it very nicely. I love your questions. Is that okay if you sit down and I'll answer your questions? There's certain ways you can say it nicely, but I know exactly what she means about not hurting somebody's feelings.
Absolutely. And sometimes in this day and age, if you just cough a little, people get a little nervous that you have something, and then they'll want to move away from you. So sometimes that's still a good method.
Right.
Any other questions or scenarios that you guys want to talk about? This has been really great information, Beth. Super helpful tips.
I apologize that my slides wouldn't work, because my slides are very animated and it really kind of puts it all together. So I'll make sure that, you can get some of that in the video.
No, that's fine. You gave us a lot of good food for thought. So there were things that I would have never thought twice about. And I certainly will going forward. I definitely wouldn't have thought of gas stations as being a high crime area, but
it is, because a lot of transients use gas stations, and so they're just looking to snatch somebody's purse or wallet, and then they just get back on the interstate and they're never caught. So gas stations are a big one.
If there was one tip that you wanted to end on, like one thing that you want everyone to know, no matter who they are, where they are, gender, what they do, what would that be?
I would say walk with purpose, walk with confidence, have strong eye contact. Pay attention to your surroundings. Pay attention to what is going on. It is you just need to be present in your life and aware. And those two things right there are going to keep you from a lot of harm. Because there are so many things, so many freak accidents, and that just happen. And it's not necessarily a criminal, But if you're just not paying attention, and you fall down the stairs or you do all sorts of things, it makes it also with using situational awareness. It's not only looking for the bad, but I don't know how many times I have helped old people up off the street who have fallen down. I've helped ladies who can't get the door open and they're pregnant and they have a baby in a little carrier. And I'm constantly helping people, and it seems like everybody is just buried in their phone and nobody's being a human. Nobody's being loving anymore and helping others. So I feel like it makes you a better person just in general if you're aware and present when you're out in public.
That's a good point. I think we see a lot of people buried in their phones, right? And I'm gonna not say that that's not the case. I can't walk and talk, so I barely use my phone when I'm walking. But I do, you'll be sitting somewhere and be on your phone and look up on occasion. Or
Yeah.
when I was at the airport, everyone at the airport was on their phone the whole time that I was there. And I thought, well, no, I'm looking at the board to see, but you see this right now today, and that is a good point, just general awareness.
Right. The other thing I like to tell people is that if you are going only 55 miles an hour and you look at your phone for 5 seconds, you've traveled an entire football field. So I used to be the one who'd sometimes, just glance at my phone, but then you just see the amount of car accidents and people dying just from looking at their phone and changing it. The safest amount of time you can ever look at your phone, well, depending on how fast you're going. If you're going too fast, don't ever look at your phone. But the safest you can look away is like up to 2 seconds. That's it. Don't be stuck in that where you're like, oh, I just got to take care of this. Pull over and look at your phone, because it can cause, so many problems when you're driving. I've just seen so much of that.
Yeah, Alicia said, my dad taught me, walk like you know where you're going and you're late to meet someone, whether you know where you're going or not. And that's a great tip, right?
Yes. Yep, it is. That's a great tip. And the other thing is there's improvised weapons all around us, right? So if you're in a gas station or somebody's freaking you out, go get a hot cup of coffee. Get the largest hot cup of coffee that you can find. You can use hot coffee to throw on somebody if you had to. I mean, if you're in Walmart, or I always tell girls and they're freaked out, I always tell them, go find somebody who works there. Tell them that this person is creeping you out and have them walk you to your car. But when you're out in different places and you feel like you need to do something to protect yourself, always look for improvised weapons around, whether it's a chair or whatever you can find.
Great tip. Beth, thank you so much again for this information. This was so informative. I certainly appreciate it. I put Beth's website in the chat. I will certainly forward the links to you. Like I said, this will be recorded, so we'll share it. But again, we're so grateful for the opportunity to have had you and get this information. We're going to share it far and wide so people get it. Thank you for all you do for keeping people safe.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I hope you all have a good rest of your day and a good rest of your week. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.